Meghan yelled in Queen's will. Her Majesty appointed Sophie for Kate Middleton's royal title. Sophie Wessex was once offered the royal title later given to Kate Middleton, but her husband Edward stepped in to refuse it. The Queen's youngest son, Edward, 58, and his wife Sophie shared a strong bond with the monarch before Her Majesty's death on the 8th of September. The royal couple have been married since 1999, and it was announced that they would become the Earl and Countess of Wessex following their wedding before the big day. The title of Earl rather than Duke, which was given to his elder brothers, was a surprise to the public, but it was at Edward's request to take on the role. The titles weren't in use at the time and hadn't been since the 11th century. The Mirror reports that the Queen had actually offered Edward the title of the Duke of Cambridge and his wife to-be Sophie, 57, the title of the Duchess of Cambridge, but her youngest son refused. The titles were later given to Prince William and Kate Middleton when they married in 2011. The publication reports that Edward asked the Queen to be named after a character called Lord Wessex in his favourite film, Shakespeare in Love. In 2010, a royal insider told The Telegraph in 2010 why Edward chose that name, explaining, he liked the sound of it and asked the Queen if he could have that instead. When the Queen's youngest son's title was announced, it was said that the royal family intended for Edward to become the Duke of Edinburgh upon both the death of his father and accession of elder brother. However, whether or not this will go ahead is said to be questioned recently. The title of Duke of Edinburgh was given to King Charles following the death of Prince Philip, but now that Charles is king, the title is now free to be given to another royal. The monarch will be the one to decide who may receive it. Prince Edward spoke out earlier this on how the royal family have been overwhelmed by tide of emotion after his mother's death. Edward shared a statement earlier this week where he spoke of the royal family being overwhelmed by the nation's tide of emotion. The Countess of Wessex cuddled delighted children including a baby and brought smiles to the faces of hundreds of well-wishers gathered outside Buckingham Palace today, as Prince Edward explained why he keeps away from the crowds. Royal fans applauded Sophie and Prince Edward and could be heard telling them sorry for your losses as the couple shook the hands of dozens of mourners outside the palace gates this afternoon, shortly after King Charles III and the Prince of Wales met mourners queuing along the banks of the Thames to see the Queen lying in state at the Palace of Westminster. The Queen's youngest son could be heard asking mourners where they had come from and whether they were making their way to Green Park to lay flowers. He then told them that the Queen would appreciate the number of people paying their respects, while his wife was given bouquets and a stuffed toy as she shook hands with those gathered. However, Edward apologized to well-wishers for not shaking their hands, and could be heard explaining after he politely waved as he walked past them that he was trying to ensure he did not fall behind and could speak to as many people as possible. The Countess stopped to look at one young girl's t-shirt, which was printed with photos of the Queen through the decades of her reign. Sophie collected armfuls of flowers including sunflowers and roses, and was given paper tributes to the late monarch by some of the well-wishers. The couple also walked over to meet members of the public stood behind barriers on the edge of nearby Green Park. In an emotional statement released just hours before he attended a poignant vigil with his siblings the King, the Duke of York and the Princess Royal in Westminster Hall last night, the Earl of Wessex said, "As a family, we have grown up learning to share our parents, especially our beloved Mama, with the nation, her realms and the Commonwealth.